Hey guys, it's Jen Jewel with InjaFit, and I'm going to do my first YouTube video in a really long time talking about Fitspiration and this comparison game that has been going on for a long time within the fitness industry. So I put this question out to my coaching clients, and that was, what inspires you in the industry? Like, who are these people that you look up to? And so there was like a long list of competitors or fitness models, or just people who were fit and had Instagram accounts that they were sort of comparing themselves to and going like, hey, that's my 10. That's what I want to attain. That's what I want to sort of role model. And that's fantastic. It's great to have these like attached goals to something, to have something to aspire to. But I want to kind of provoke your mind a little bit with it, because somewhere along the line of looking at other people and what they're doing, we forget about our best selves, right? So it becomes this like cultivating community of, hey, I want to look like so and so, but I'm not really realistic of like what's going on for me, and I'm not really realistic of like what's actually going on for that person. So for example, you could go through my Instagram account and you'll see training videos, you'll see pictures of my beautiful daughter, you'll see the odd selfie here and there, you'll see inspirational quotes, and you could manifest any kind of story you wanted out of those photos. It would be no different than if you came over to my home and I had a photo album on the coffee table and you started leafing through my photo album, and you were like, wow, this trip to Disneyland when you were a kid was so good, and I love this picture with your dad, and wow, that's your mom. And you might create this story in your head regarding my childhood. Now, I'm not here to get into my personal life, but let's just say you create that story about my childhood, yet you don't know anything about it. We do the same thing on social media. We create a story based on what is presented to us, not what is actual fact. And I don't know too many people that really feel comfortable sharing themselves entirely on social media. I know that I don't. So you actually see only a very small piece of my life. You'll see my beautiful daughter. You'll see the selfie. You'll see that I'm fit and that I do these fit moves. You'll see the inspirational quotes, but you actually have no idea what goes on behind the scenes, or what I've gone through, or what I am going through in my personal life at any given day, at any given time. And that would be the same for the majority of the Fitspiration that you are kind of comparing yourself to as you scroll through your social media. And I'm not here to tell you that you shouldn't be inspired by what you see online. What I'm saying is you have to kind of discern it. And one of the things that I find really interesting is, like, I've been in the industry for over 20 years now. So back in my day, and I always say back in my day, like I'm old, I'm going to be 38 in a couple months, but there was magazines, and magazines were the only real access into the subculture. There was bodybuilding.com, and there was a couple websites, but it was very, very sparse. And so really what you were looking for was these magazines that come out in the newsstand like every month. And I had my favorite girls, I had my favorite fit chicks, and I remember being so excited if a new magazine came out with my favorite fit girls on the cover, because I was like, she's gonna give me all her secrets. I'm going to get all of her secrets in that magazine right now, and she's gonna have that diet that I need to do. She's gonna tell me how she trains. I'm gonna know her height. I'm gonna know her weight. I'm gonna know a little bio story on her. It's gonna tell me everything that I need to know so that I can aspire and become like that girl in the magazine that I am worshiping. And so I'd read through it, and like I'd get the diet, and then I'd try to do the diet, and I'd try to do the training, or I try to do whatever that girl was doing. And I was like, why isn't this working for me? What's wrong with me? So I'm not taking into account any of my own personal limitations, my time constraints, my genetic anomalies, my autoimmune disorder, my inability to put more time in than what that girl is capable of doing. All I was doing was comparing myself to somebody else's best self, or what they are presenting as their best self. So quite a few years back, when I started to get a little real with my fit journey, and decided like, hey, this isn't actually working for me anymore. Like I'm not feeling like I'm in my optimal health, even though I am saying that I feel optimal. And I am not really enjoying my training, even though I'm saying I'm enjoying my training. And that was because I was sort of on this hamster wheel of comparison, of comparing myself to the girl in the magazines. Thank goodness social media wasn't around then, because I would have blown that shit up and I would have completely lost my mind comparing myself to other people on social media. So back then, you know, I'm comparing myself to these girls in the magazine, and I sort of had this like aha moment where I was like, what am I comparing to? And this really became more factual for me when I became a mom. But also when I realized like, hey, at that time I was in an occupation where I was on my feet 8-9 hours a day. I had to be at work at a certain time every morning. I had traffic constraints where I was traveling to go to work. I was around food all the time because of my workplace. I had autoimmune disorder. I was tired all the time. My sleeping patterns weren't great, but I was going to try and keep up with the 8x11 that was given to the girl in the magazine. And that just wasn't working for me anymore. So how was I going to become my best self in this industry? It came down to a lot of self-acceptance and also like understanding what my best self was going to look like. And this became, like I said, as I became a mom, this became even more clear, because no longer was I able to say to myself, set myself up for failure and say, well, the girl in the magazine goes to the gym 6 days a week and does cardio 6 days a week on top of it and only eats 1,200 calories. Well, now here I am, I have time constraints and I can only make it to the gym 4 days a week. I only have an hour. I can't do double sessions. There's no way I can fit that time in without feeling like an absolute zombie, let alone like feeling like garbage the rest of the day. And I can't live off of 1,200 calories because I am like running around like a crazy person. I'm starving, I'm miserable, and I can't follow that 8x11 because I'm around food or I want to eat in front of my daughter, and none of that was lining up for me. And so it became this story for me of like, what can I do? What becomes my best self? And so I say this to my clients all the time, because I will get inquiries from people and they'll fill out the consult form and they are in that moment willing to do whatever it takes. And they'll say like, Jen, I will train 2 hours a day, 6-7 days a week. And they're just not realistic with themselves. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. And if it is not sustainable, it is not maintainable. So for them, it really becomes this coaching moment where we sit down and we think about, what can I do and what can I execute week in and week out? And am I setting myself up for failure to not be my best self because I have placed a pedestal of sort of the work instead of the enjoyment, right? So, for example, I would compare myself to the girls in the magazine. You might compare yourself to girls on social media. And really what you're trying to keep up with is a rat race. You're trying to keep up with the subculture. It's not necessarily always that you think you're going to obtain that physique or that level of happiness. It's this feeling like, if I don't keep up, I'm not worthy. If I don't do this, then I'm not worthy of being a fit chick or whatever you want to call it. But really, you can be that. You can be your own best self with your own personal limitations while still challenging yourself within it. Like, you don't have to limit yourself to the lowest standard, but you can be realistic. And so if you can't fit in 2 hours of training a day, like I can't, then don't make 2 hours of training a day your goal. If you can't fit in starvation, then don't fit in dieting all the time into the goal. You know, if you're buying into this diet mentality that if you diet yourself off, you're going to suddenly feel validated or worthy of the subculture, again, you're not dealing with your best self. And so my advice to you when you're looking at Fitspiration and you're comparing yourself to anybody on social media is, what is my best self? What does that look like? And does the girl in the magazine or the girl on Fitspiration on my Instagram reel really do everything she says she does? Is she really happy? Or am I just looking at her photo album and creating a story? Chances are you're looking at a photo album and you're creating a story, and that is stopping you from being your best self. That's bullshit. So That's my YouTube today, and I have lots more to talk about with this. But yeah, what are you doing to be your best self, and why are you comparing yourself to an ideal you don't even know exists or if you could ever obtain? Bye.